My point is always, if I was an expert and I was telling a parent that broccoli causes brain damage and it could be permanent, you probably would very easily decide not to feed your child broccoli. But somehow this issue is fraught with an awful lot of emotion. It's political, and what parents are missing is that there are just some realities that we're finding that suggest that we have to be very cautious in allowing our children to experiment with this drug. The other thing that is unequivocal is that there is a strong relationship between the use of today's marijuana and psychotic episodes, whether or not you actually have a psychotic condition. I've had children like this in my practice who have had psychotic episodes smoking marijuana, and the emergency rooms and around Connecticut, you can go talk to them if you want to. They're getting an influx of kids who are having psychotic episodes on this drug. We also know that it appears to put individuals at a greater risk for schizophrenia in particular. We don't know enough about the chicken and the egg yet, whether or not an individual is predisposed and that puts them at risk. But what we do know is that kids who smoke today's marijuana are at a much greater risk for developing a chronic mental health condition. The other thing that I'm seeing in my practice is that this marijuana, because of the level of THC, can be an anxiogenic, which means that it can actually cause anxiety. And what it does is it plays with the GABA in the brain. And so kids start smoking it often because they have anxiety and it chills them out. And as they continue to smoke it, what they don't realize is that it not only can cause anxiety while they're high, but there appears to be a kickback, an anxiety kickback when they don't smoke it. So it's another way for these kids to get addicted to the drug, because they smoke it, they get some relief. They don't smoke it, they experience anxiety. They smoke it, they get some relief. And I did say a moment ago, addicted, and the reality is that it is addictive, and specifically because of these high levels of THC. One of the ways that the kids ingest weed is they vape it. And it comes in these little capsules, and it's an oil, and it has THC in it, and that's how they end up getting high. Here's the problem with this. Most of those capsules, the THC level is upwards of 90%. And the kids don't know that. They don't know that they're ingesting marijuana that has that level of THC. And that level of THC is comparable to what the kids used to call dabbing, which is when it was a very concentrated form of marijuana and waxy substance. You hit it with butane, it vapes. Well, now they have a drug delivery device that does that for them. Dabbing is the same as vaping. Vaping is the same as dabbing. So you're getting this massive amount of THC in your brain, and it's toxic. It's toxic to your brain. Not only your brain, but you have THC receptors all over your body. And the kids are unaware of that. And it is unequivocal that THC at that level is causing developmental issues. Brain developmental issues, and it is incredibly detrimental to their brain development, and they don't even know it. The other thing about smoking marijuana, because of the nature of the drug, is that children's socio-emotional development can also be slowed down, and the reason is that drug, particularly if you're smoking it because you have a tendency towards anxiety. Boys love to smoke it and play video games. What you tend to do is you tend to avoid things that are uncomfortable. You tend to lose your desire to push through difficult things. You lose your motivation. You don't really care. It's called the mañana drug. Like, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. So what happens developmentally is it sets a child up for anxiety because they don't do what they need to do at different developmental stages. Like, for example, a young man asking a girl out on a date. They're not doing that sort of thing. They're on their phones, they're on social media, they're playing a video game, but they're not leaving the house. And they think they're actually socializing when they're not. So then they hit adulthood or they go off to college, they don't have the skills, the socio-emotional skills to connect with other people without feeling anxious. So that's sort of an unintended consequence of the drug, but one that is incredibly significant when our children are trying to transition from childhood, teens to adulthood. So very important to understand.